Hi, Lawrence LeBrocq, managing partner of Garces, Grabler, and LeBrocq. Welcome to Victim to Victory, Triumph Over Tragedy. Today we have the pleasure of having in studio Dante Rivera, former professional MMA fighter, incredible ground and pound game. He's here with us today. He's now training future champions. He has a bunch of champions in his stable right now, and we're going to have a nice conversation about MMA, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and what separates a great fighter from somebody that's just in the gym. How you doing today, Dante?
Pretty good, sir. How you doing today?
I'm great. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here.
So you started out in mixed martial arts with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Yes, sir.
What drew you to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu as opposed to all the fancy stuff when we were younger?
Well, I was a big fan of the UFC, and when I was younger, you talk about UFC 1 and 2 and 3, and I was amazed that Royce Gracie was in there just submitting and choking guys all the time. So I was a big basketball player, and I remember one time I was in the middle of a basketball game in this place in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and at halftime during the game, I'm walking by, and there was a gym in there, and the guy was rolling around doing jiu-jitsu. So I'm looking through the window because I was intrigued, and a guy by the name of Eddie Rowland, he walks up to me, and he goes, "Oh, you want to come in and try one day?" Well, I said, "Yeah, sure." He says, "Why don't you come on Thursday?" I said, "Okay, fine." I said, "I'll be happy to. You know, I'm an athlete. I come in there." So I go in there. I'm about 225 pounds. He's about 165, 170. And he's like, "Hey, you want to wrestle around?" And I'm like, "Yeah." In my head, I said, "I'm gonna throw this guy around like a rag." He must have choked me 190 times in like 10 minutes. I couldn't even believe it. And from there, I was just hooked. You know.
So that was the start. How old were you when you started in MMA?
Oh, I'm pretty sure you got to be around 23, 22, 23, something of that nature.
So you weren't a kid when you started?
No, I wasn't a kid. No.
So you started at 22, 23. Yeah. How does that evolve? What sports were you involved before that, and how did the introduction into
I played
BJJ
almost every sport. I mean, I grew up in New York, and no matter what the season was, if it was football, we're playing two-hand touch in the street. If it was baseball, we're playing baseball. If it was basketball, we're in the courts playing basketball. But I was mostly focused on playing basketball when I was younger.
What position in basketball?
I was a guard or forward.
Yeah.
Well, I like to shoot, so.
All right, so you go into the gym and you start with BJJ. Now, where does that progression come from? How does that progress into becoming an MMA fighter?
Well, I grew up, I was a different person before jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu changed my life, but I was a rough kid. And I was kind of had a reputation for, I wasn't a bad kid. I have respect, but a reputation of, throwing my hands a little bit. And, I remember first starting jiu-jitsu, and it kind of started calm, and then calming me down, and I was so aggressive and so into it. It was like a gym rat. I was like, I want to try fighting one time, And I remember my family like, "Oh my God, you're going to be way worse now. Forget about it, And I actually had the opposite effect. It made me respectful, made me become a man, and made me appreciate that I had to be a peaceful person instead of an animal,
Right. So it had a good effect. You started fighting at what age?
I think my first fight was 99, so I had to be, I don't know, 24 maybe, 25.
So your first big moment was with The Ultimate Fighter, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that experience, because we get to see it on TV.
Yeah.
We don't really see what goes on behind the scenes there.
I loved being on the show. Opened a lot of opportunities. Had a very good record. I mean, it was very different back then with the record and the finishes I had back then. If that was nowadays, I would have been right in the UFC instead of the Ultimate Fighter, but the roster was much smaller. It wasn't fights every week like it is now. It's fights every 2-3 months. Right. So especially outside, so I had to wait my time to get there. And when I went to Ultimate Fighter, I was a little bit older. I was like 32. So I already set in my ways. There was a bunch of kids. They were okay, living in a house. I wanted to be in my own house,
Right.
But it was harder for me just because I was a grown man at that point, and I was set in my ways. These guys were happy to be in a mansion with a jacuzzi, and they thought it was fun. I was away from my family and not able to talk to nobody. We weren't allowed to talk or communicate with anybody, not even a phone, internet, anything. We didn't even know who played in the Super Bowl or nothing because they don't want the information of the results of the show to leak out. So, but we were the first season where you had a fight to get on. Right. Usually they picked you. So I was on season 7. The first 6 seasons they picked you, and Dana White was fed up. He was like, there's a lot of guys coming here. Excuse my language, they're pussies, and they want to go home. This that. When we came, I remember we first came in the first 16. We're like, yeah, we made the show, and then another 16 guys come in, and they're like, what's going on? He's like, now we're going to separate you guys. Now you're going to fight. The winner gets to go on the show.
Wow.
And I never forget that. I was happy because I was in shape. All the other guys were like, oh my God, their jaw dropped, you know?
Yep. So how did you do in that first Ultimate Fighter?
I won my fight to get in, and I think about 30-something seconds. Picked him up, took him down, and a very tough kid by the name of John Wood, very tough guy. He's actually an excellent coach now, too. And I ended up Kimuring him, had him pinned against the cage, and I Kimuring in about 30, 40 seconds, so won to get in the house.
Awesome. So you're in the house. Talk a little bit about the experience. What's it like being in that house, locked away from
Crazy.
all
These
contact?
kids are great. They put a bunch of fighters in a house with nothing to do but some pool tables, cards, and liquor. A full bar. That's it.
A full bar.
Yeah, full bar.
Yeah, has disaster written
Yes.
all over it.
What was cool is you could eat. There was a phone you picked up. If I wanted sushi, shrimp, or steak, I said, that's what I want for dinner. It would be on the table.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. That's not so bad.
Yeah.
So you got to train under some good coaches like Almeida,
Oh, the
and
best.
you got to train with Frankie Edgar in
Yes.
that camp. Tell us a little about those experiences.
Primarily, my whole career was. My whole career is over Ricardo Almeida. He's like for me, there's nobody better. You know, I mean, this guy. I've rolled with everybody you could think of that's an amazing jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world. I've rolled with. Like the best guy on the planet was Gordon Ryan. Like I used to roll with all the time. Him, guys like Gary Toden, Tom DeBlas. These all like top jiu-jitsu guys, and Renzo Gracie. And to me, the guy who I've never even had an upper hand on ever grappling and a grappler is Ricardo Almeida. Like he's that good. He's that smart. He's great coach, great instructor. And he always set me straight. He's very serious. So every time I veered off, he put up with a lot of nonsense for me. I owe him a lot. Because anybody else, first couple of years, I was a maniac. Mm-hmm. So anybody else would have threw me out of the gym, and he stuck with me. He was like, listen, I'm going to make you. And that to me, he's a real instructor. He didn't care how skilled I was. He wanted to make me a man. Like, he wanted to make me, right in life,
So tell me a little bit about your experience, because you fought into a lot of different organizations.
Yes.
Tell me the differences, what you liked about them, and what you didn't like.
Well, before I went to the Ultimate Fighter, there's 4 local organizations: Reality Fighting, Ring of Combat. It was Combat in a Cage, and Cage Fury. I had the middleweight title for all 4 of them at the same time, I believe. That's pretty much what catapulted me in. I remember I went to the Ultimate Fighter, and I remember telling Dana White, he was like, what's your record? I was like, I'm 11-2. He's like, you're 11, you're not 11-2. I was like, yes, I am. And he was like, I pretty much breezed through, and then they gave me an interview, and they were like, you're basically, we love you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it was pretty good. But every organization always treated me with respect, because I was a respectful guy, and I always have Ricardo in my corner or Renzo Gracie. Right. It's hard to, you have to be respectful with those 2 guys. I'm the guy that I won, I never celebrated, I bowed, except for one occasion, but I usually bow, hold my opponent up. I remember fighting guys, and they were like, well, I don't even want to fight you. You're so, polite and cool. Why are you being so nice to me? I said, because I respect I don't care if you're 0-99 or 100-0. I respect anybody who steps in a cage of fights. I know what it takes to do that, A lot of people in the crowd commentating have a lot to say, but you got so much to say, you get in there and fight.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do.
No, I can't imagine
It's not an easy thing to go in a cage and watch a cage door lock, and the guy across you has a bonus incentive that if he knocks your head off, he's getting that bonus. People don't put that into perspective. So it's a hard thing to do.
So how did you do in your UFC career?
I wish I could have did better. You know what I mean? I had the Ultimate Fight. I had a couple fights, and I just at that point when I got to the UFC, I was a little bit older. I was 33, and they wanted more young guys.
Right.
Looking for the spring chickens. And the prime of my career was spent getting those all four other belts from all the other organizations, and I was kind of wore down at that time. And then I remember taking a little break. And I came back, and then I got down to a lower weight class. And the last couple fights were in Bellator when I had that fire again. But all I did was train. So I trained and fought. I remember in 2007, I think I had seven fights in 1 year.
That's a lot of fights.
It's a lot of fights in 1 year. And it's just but I took advantage because back then there wasn't fights. For me, I probably would have had 100. If it was like nowadays where there's fights every week, I probably would have had 100 fights.
Right.
But, I pretty much think I fought Bellator, the IFL, the UFC. I mean, I pretty much have won fights at every level of every organization. So that's what made me. I had a good career. I was happy. You know, I was never known. I was always known as a tough fight. You know,
Right.
whether it was what people consider me. Would you be the UFC champion? Probably not. People would never consider me like that. But people, no matter who I fought, was like, that's a tough fight. He's a tough guy. You have to put him away, or you're gonna get put away. Because I finished over 80% of my fights. So I wasn't a guy who just grinded you out. I finished fights.
Was there any particular fight that stands out in your career that you really learned a lot from? Whether it was a loss, a win, or tight fight?
Two fights. I fought a guy for my first title named Jose Rodriguez. The guy looked and punched like he was Mike Tyson. He had that same body, jacked, monster. And I remember before one of my fights, somebody told him that told him he sucked, which I never said.
Right.
And I ended up choking a guy in 30 seconds coming on. He ran up to me trying to fight me now. I was like, no. And I said, okay. I said, just book the fight. So it ended up being a title fight. I remember being so petrified, like this guy punches me and knocked my head off. And I was just like, I don't even, I remember walking out saying, how am I going to win this fight? I'm so scared. And I just dug so deep, and I learned something about myself. Like, he threw one punch and it whizzed by me, and I was like, fuck this. I'm not getting hit by this guy. Took him down, then I'm TKOing him. And it was like one of my highlights of my career because I was so scared of him.
Yep.
And anybody knew is if he touched you with a punch, you were out. That's it. That guy hit that hard.
See, it's amazing to hear you say, and you were afraid of him, that you were actually scared of him. And people think that fighters don't have any fear. It's not a matter of not having fear.
It's a matter of conquering it.
Yes, and still facing that fear and getting in the ring, which is incredible.
Well, what I learned is what I told Eric Nolan on his last fight. I said, fear is our friend because fear keeps you on the edge. I like having anxiety. I don't like being calm. Like if I wasn't anxious, I always kind of try to make myself anxious before a match. Even jiu-jitsu, I had like 140 jiu-jitsu matches. I always wanted to make myself a little anxious. Why? Because it keeps you, think about if you're scared. If I have a hot stove on and you're not scared of getting burned, right? You're going to take the pot and pick it up. Get burned. You got burned. But if you're petrified, you're touching it like this, seeing if it's hot, then you're getting something and you're picking it up with it so you don't get burnt. That's the analogy I use. So it's the same thing in fighting. Like you're not just, I'm not scared, I'm running right in. Also, you get punched, knocked out, you got burnt.
Yep.
Instead, let me see what I can do to get into here without getting burnt. It keeps you on edge.
So you said that was one. What was another one? You said there were two fights.
Tim Kennedy. Tim Kennedy was fought for the title in the UFC. He's a very famous guy. He's like a Army Ranger. He was deployed. Like if you Google him, he's all over.
Right.
Like he was like Silver Star, Purple Heart, everything. Like everything you could think of. This guy, he went with his own crew, I believe, one time to save hostages in like Afghanistan. Like he has like a team like that.
Yep.
Like crazy. And I remember I had a guy fight. It was a kickboxing guy I was supposed to fight in the IFL, and they were like, I was a jiu-jitsu guy at that point. I think I might have been 9-1 at that point. And they said, this guy said he fell off the bus and hurt his knee, which I think was bullshit. He just didn't want to fight me in front of everybody. And they said, we got a 24-hour replacement for you, this guy, Tim Kennedy. I said, what's his record? He had a big record like me. It was like 11-2 or 12-2, or 12-1 or something. They said, but all his fights were the Army combatives. And in my head, I remember doing seminars on Army combatives. The guys knew nothing. I said, so how good could he be? They said, he's a jiu-jitsu guy. I said, fucking bring him in.
Right.
And I remember, it's the funniest story, because if you ever know Renzo Gracie, he's the greatest guy on the planet. He's the funniest guy on the planet. So he's in a corner of me, and I remember getting on top of him like for a quick second, and he like swept me, and then he's on top of me. And he's going knee on belly, and he's doing all the jiu-jitsu moves that I had no answers for. I go back to the corner, and first round I go, Renzo, what the fuck, man? This is my bread and butter. What the fuck's going on? He looks at me and goes, I don't know, man. We're fucked. He looked at me and goes, I don't know, man. We're fucked. Yeah. And never judge a book. Never think that better at every, like, to me, I'm like, I train Ricardo, I train my
Yeah.
hands with Gracie. I'm in a room with 6, 7 Gracies rolling every day. I'm all Brazilian world champions.
Yeah.
Who's going to beat me on the ground? Taught me a valuable lesson. Don't underestimate anybody. Doesn't matter if it's jiu-jitsu. You could be the greatest striker in the world. But, like, I'm going to bet anybody could do anything. I couldn't believe how smooth he was on the ground. And I was like, holy fuck. You know?
So what did you do? Did you?
I lost.
Yeah.
Broke my nose. He hit me. I remember, and I was doing decent. I wasn't getting killed. And then he ended up breaking my nose. I remember getting hit in the nose, and I saw the replay. He just hit me in the same spot. Well, the first punch, I'm just like, you get hit in the nose, you feel like you're underwater.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a replay, hit me like 7 or 8 times in the same exact spot. I just like, I remember when he got up, he's a gentleman, helped me up, checked my face because my nose was mangled after that, you know what I mean? But I remember not knowing where I was because you get hit once in the nose, imagine 6, 7 more times in that same spot. He was such a gentleman, helped me up, told me, he was always watching my fight. Like, he was just a gentleman. I couldn't lose to a better guy. You know what I mean? He was a great guy. And then he had I think after that was the fight, the next fight, they called him to UFC after beating me. And he was in the UFC after that. And then he had a great career in the UFC.
So tell me a little bit about the attitude it takes to be an MMA fighter. What do you look for in the younger guys?
Respect, first and foremost. Respect the craft.
Right.
Respect. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. If you're not coming to learn jiu-jitsu, go somewhere else. I teach them everything, but primarily the foundation will be the ground because I think wrestling and jiu-jitsu is primarily you're safe in every aspect with that, in my opinion. You're safe in every aspect. You get a great striker and you take him down and submit him. Like, for me, the guys who are the most dominant are the guys who have good jiu-jitsu and good wrestling, like Khabib, like Islam, like Osman, like all the guys like that. Charles Oliveira used to just submit everybody. Now, what happens is if guys are so scared of you on the ground, your striking becomes good for 2 reasons. You have to work on your striking.
Sure.
But they fight you different. They don't box you loose. They box you in a way where they can't risk taken down because they know they're going to get submitted. So then you end up landing punches. You end up like I remember Khabib fought Conor. Conor's a way better striker than Khabib. But Khabib landed a big overhand and wobbled him. Why? Because Conor couldn't fight his usual. He had to be so aware and afraid of being taken down that it opened them up to getting punched.
Sure.
So I tell these guys, I also want them to all become black belts in jiu-jitsu. I said, my job is to make sure as an instructor is to make sure you become good men after you're done. Not everybody makes a great career fighting, all right? A very small percentage does, all right? Sure. If you're smart and you win that money, then you do something. Most people are not smart. But I said, my thing is you're all going to have black belts. You're going to have big, good fighting careers. You'll have the option of opening a school and making a career. There's nowhere in the world I'm going to let you open a school. Nowhere in the world I'm going to let you become a fighter, get retired, and then have to get a job afterwards.
Right.
No, you're going to do what you love. And then in the long run, you'll thank me. I'm so on their backs with that. I'm like, listen, my job as an instructor is not to make sure you're a great fighter and you're talented. My job is to make sure you become better men when you're done with me. That's how I take that seriously.
So what made you transition from being a professional fighter into opening up your own?
Well, Ricardo made entrusted me in his school to start teaching because I was always there. I was a gym rat. I started teaching. And when I retired, I realized that I'm a competitor. I'm so competitive. Like, I play basketball with these guys, and I'm talking so much crap that it doesn't matter if I make them come to my house, we play board games, and I'm whooping them in board games, and I'm talking shit. I'm so competitive. Like, I remember playing Uno with some of the 7-year-olds in my school, and they're crying. And my sister's like, why are you whooping them? Like, I said, you don't teach them nothing but let them win. I said, I'm winning everything. I'm competitive. So I said, I live vicariously through them competing. Also, I'm with these guys every day and watching them grow. I've been with Eric and guys like Eric Nolan and Luke Fernandez and Nicolante, Jerry Leschler. These guys, from the minute they first, I watched them grow up. Like, these guys are like family to me. Like, I'm with them five days a week, 6 days a week on the mat. It's very hard not to become attached to these kids. You know what I mean? Right. And they look at me, all of them look at me like an older brother or a father figure. So, I feel it's a lot to fill those shoes,
Right. So what is the ultimate goal of your gym?
My gym is become good at jiu-jitsu, And you got a misconception now. You got a lot of these young guys. They come on the internet. They're like, "Oh, you give away this people, this and this and that." That's not, and because they're taking it as a competitive aspect. Jiu-jitsu is a lifestyle. Jiu-jitsu is a martial art. I don't care. Is there gonna? I'm a 4th-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. Is there guys out there that can beat me? Yes. Do I smoke mostly everybody I roll with? Yes, absolutely. But is there guys that can beat me and make me look like I'm not a black belt? Yes. Does that mean I'm not a black belt? Absolutely not. Somebody's always more athletic. All I care about is you conduct yourself like a black belt. What does that mean? You mean the guy with a lower belt, you get him to the next level. You have a great attitude on the mat. At my school, I pride it. People come, they're like, everybody here's like a family. There's no ego in here. Everybody loves each other. Everybody's laughing. Even I remember Eric Nolan's father at the fight. He says, "You built something great. You guys are like a family." And other people in other gyms like, "You guys are all so close." I pride myself on that too. And a black belt to me ultimately has to be able to handle himself in the street. Any one of my black belts is not getting nothing done to him by a guy, regular guy who doesn't train at all. It's impossible. Right. Are they guys who maybe is a purple belt? I got a 55-year-old black belt on my school. Is there a purple belt or blue belt that's 24 years old that wrestled maybe or that lift weights or they could? Yeah, he's younger. Of course, he's more athletic. That doesn't mean he's not a black belt. Doesn't mean he doesn't have the knowledge. Just because he can't apply it, because he physically can't, have the attributes to do what these young kids could do.
Sure.
Does not take that. This is the misconception. The guys lose tradition. They lose respect for the martial art, and they treat it like a sport. Forget it's a martial art. For me as a black belt, I have to deal with guys. I've had guys call me, said they want to kill themselves. My wife cheated on me. I have nowhere to live. I bought a guy 2 different students' cars. I've paid mortgages for I've done. That's my job. I've took that on as a job. For me, I have to make money. I have to have a roof over my head. I have to pay the bills, but it's not all about money for me. It's not. There's plenty of people that I sponsor that come to me like, I have to cancel my membership. I lost my job. And I'd be like, well, you train for the next 5 months. And when you get a job, you come to me. And then you tell me you can pay. And you know what? They always come and say, I'm ready to pay now. I got a job. They never take advantage. I leave it up to them. I don't leave it up to them. Because if I find out that you got the job and you're still taking advantage, then you did me a favor. I know not to treat you like that. But I always leave it in their court. I've never denied people to train or the opportunity to be part of my family because of money. You know what I mean?
What do you look for in a student? Have you ever had to kick students out?
I'm not saying this, but I've had the most talented students before that were ready for the UFC. And I was like, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
It's attitude that gives to the head. No respect, no giving back. And I said, I don't care. You could be a superstar. I already have a name. I built a nice name for myself. People know who I am. People respect me in this MMA world. Doesn't matter if it's the UFC champions who know who I am. There's a lot of guys who don't know who I am. Right. Mostly everybody in this world knows me, at least by name, and they respect me because I'm always a gentleman. I'm always a man of my word. And I put in hard work. You cannot not respect nobody in this sport. I'm 50 years old, and they'll tell you I'm on the mat 4 days a week, every day, still training. And not light. Mm-hmm. I was like, if you're going to treat me like a 50-year-old, get away from me, get out of here. I mean, they can't. I mean, I'm still in good shape, and I still but I train hard. Still work out every day, still run every day. I still do things every day to keep myself in shape.
No, that's great.
And you got to respect that. I respect anybody who's
But that's a great role model also for the kids. To see you doing it at 50 and still continuing to roll around and run.
And I love the kids. I teach all the little kids from 5 to 12. I hang out with them. I have huge kids programs, 40, 50 kids on the mat. They're jumping on and I love them. I hang out with them, and I teach the classes. Usually go to other academies, and the lower belts or the younger kids are teaching the younger. And I think that's a mistake. I think the younger kids need the guidance of the maturity of a black belt or somebody of that stature more than the adults do. You know what I mean? I mean, I teach them all. I'm with all of them, but I focus a lot on the kids too.
I like the saying, your motto about a black belt is just a white belt that never quit.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
I mean, it is. Everybody can build that. I tell people, I say, listen, people look at me like, oh my God, some of the white belts, they're like in awe. They're like, oh my God, how do I get, I'm never going to be, I said, no, there's no difference in you and me. The only difference is I never stop training. You're going to soak it in. You just got to put in the time and be there. That's it. You're going to become a black belt. It's inevitable if you put in the time and you stay on those mats. That's it. You go to college, you do the right thing, right? It's inevitable. You go 8, 10 years, you're going to get your degree.
Sure.
That's it. You're going to get your degree. You put in the work. You pass the test. You do what you have to do. You're going to get the degree. It's inevitable. You're going to get there. You just have to put hard work and stick with it.
All right, so you have a family atmosphere. You train hard. You're a great role model. What do you tell the fighters, and how do you help prepare fighters, not only physically but mentally, to get into that cage? Because man, when that cage shuts, there's no getting out.
Everybody's different, and that's the sign of a good coach is you have to coach everybody, treat everybody different. That's why you have to spend time with them. That's why when we're not doing stuff like next week, we have all team dinner together. And usually the team dinner, maybe we go somewhere. Like I made them all go to Great Adventure. We all go to Great Adventure. We all went to a water park. We all went to my house for game night. Play board. I make them stick together. Why? Because you have to know your fighters. Because you have to coach everybody different. One guy you might have to be like, listen, shut the fuck up. Grab your balls. Let's go. That was time to dig fucking deep. Mm-hmm. And another guy you might have to be like, take a deep breath. Okay, listen, man, it's gonna be okay. You can win this. You have to know everybody's personality and all their strengths, and you're gonna be able to coach. You can't coach everybody the same way. I'm never gonna tell one guy to do a move in the same. Two guys could be in the same position, and I might tell one guy to do a complete different move than he's gonna do. Why? Because he might be good at one move and he might be good at the other move. But the only way to know that is to spend time with these guys. People think, oh, I'm a coach. No, you're not a coach if you don't know your fighter. You have to know what you're coaching. You have to know what you're telling them because everybody doesn't know how to do everything the right way or proper. Some guys have a different skill set and do things better than other guys.
Well, I was at the last cage fighting Fury matches, so saw Eric win the title. So you had a couple other guys take down titles. Talk a little bit about that. How does that feel as a coach, a mentor, to see the young guys succeed?
Proud. And I'm proud. Listen, of course, I love that they bring accolades to my coaching at my school, but I'm just so more proud, anything, and happy for them. They tell you, I'm not a guy like, oh, you got to wear my logo, or you got to shout me. I don't care. I do it for them. They're my students, right? And I want them to be happy. I want them to do good. That's it. And I'm so happy for them because they put them to work and they deserve it. And they all work hard and they all worry. And I'm just like, whatever happened is whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. But you got to take out all the bad variables by training as hard as you can and not leaving it up to you not being prepared.
Right.
As long as you're 100% prepared, whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. You can't change that. What you can't change is if you don't train hard enough or do things you're supposed to do, and then you go in there and you fall short because you didn't do what you're supposed to do. That's it. If you do everything you're supposed to do and you train hard, whatever's supposed to, I tell them, whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. So go out there and fight and leave it out there. Don't be hesitant. That's it.
Yeah, so at CFFC, 142 was the last one,
Yeah.
right? And I saw you had three guys?
Yes.
And 3-0 on that night,
3-0.
which is awesome. And I really noticed what was incredible is the camaraderie of those guys, all pulling for each other.
Oh, yeah.
One guy wins a championship, and he's like, no, I can't go anywhere, can't do anything. I don't support my teammate.
Yeah.
So it's really coming across what you're preaching and what you're trying to teach, which is pretty incredible. So, I've known Eric since he was a kid, Eric Nighttime Nolan.
I feel bad for you.
And
God bless you.
Out of his three brothers, he was the guy you would never have thought would become, a cage fighter because he was such a laid-back kid, such a gentleman. Tell us a little bit about his personality, and we'll talk a little bit about the Blaine Richards fight in a minute. But tell us his personality and how he's progressed since coming to your gym.
I've seen him progress everywhere, from the ground to the wrestling to the hands. I've watched him become into this amazing fighter. And what impressed me the most about him is he's a head case. He's usually like, I'm not ready, I'm nervous. And to me, honestly, he should be undefeated. I believe he's better than every guy he fought, even the guys he lost to, way better. The fights he lost is because he held back a little bit and he didn't believe in himself. I believe he's better than every guy he fought and every guy he lost. No offense to those guys. Right. He lost to some tough guys. Not so everybody. He's had some tough fights. He's fought some tough guys, but even the Blaine Richard fight that he lost, I mean, he was covered in blood and he got caught. He was winning that fight.
He was.
He was winning that fight. He was covered in blood, and the choke was on her chin and snuck in. Like, it's hard to fight your whole face covered in blood. Trust me, I know. I've been there, and he was winning that fight. And the other two fights were split decision losses. Like, he could easily be undefeated right now. So to see him so composed and so confident was like, after that Blaine Richard fight, I was so half and half. I was like, hope this kid, I'm not sure if this is for him, this career. After that Blaine Richard fight, the one he lost,
Yep.
I pulled him. I said, this fight you lost, but I know now you could fight in the UFC. I know you're a fucking fighter now. Why? Because you got pissed and you fucking left it all out there. The other fights, you was fighting not to lose, not fighting to win. And he still was just split decision losses. He was scared to lose. Mm-hmm. You didn't give a fuck there. He hurt your nose, you got pissed, and you went after that motherfucker. Then after that, it clicked. And I kept telling him, now's your chance. And he just finished the next 3 guys. And he was so composed. And I told him before the fight, I pulled him aside. He just sent me a picture, and I'll show it to you. I have him by the face. And I'm talking to him. I said, you are going to win this fight. I said, I believe in it. I said, am I ever wrong to you? Do you trust me? Because I trust you 100%. I said, you're going to win. I know for a fact you're going to win. Get it out your head. Don't worry. Trust me when I tell you. And he went out there and he believed it. And he was so composed and he showed it. And he finished it. And Blaine is tough. Blaine Richard is a tough fucking kid.
Tough kid.
That kid will be in the UFC too. That kid's a stud. He's tough. He didn't just beat a nobody. That kid is super tough. You know what I mean?
What kind of tweaks in the training? What did you see? How did you change? Because this was a left hook that took him out.
Yeah.
Did you see something in training that Blaine was leaving
Well,
himself open?
His check hook and his left hook is his best weapon. He's got good hands. But I told him, I said, every hand is a weapon for you. You hit hard. And he hits hard, but it's more that he hits hard, he hits accurate. He's very accurate when he punches, right? And we worked on, like, he was going forward, but ending the combination with a hook. And Blaine is a fighter that we watch his tape that goes back and forth. It doesn't go side to side. It goes back and forth. So what happens is if you end the combo on the hook and you back up, you lose footing and you kind of turn a little bit. And Blaine is very good at making you miss and jumping on your back and getting the choke. Did that to like 3 guys. So I said, you got to throw straight punches, overhand straight punches, and when he comes in is when we throw the hook. And it worked out perfectly. He came in and he threw the hook. Not end the combo on the hook. Unless he's against the cage and he can't back up, then you can end whatever you want. But you can't end with just throw straight punches because he's going to go on the line. He's not going side to side.
Yeah,
Blaine's looking for you to make a mistake, to jump on your back and choke you.
Right.
That's his bread and butter.
So what are the next steps? What do you see for Eric now in the future? Is he going to defend the title? Do you think he's going to get a shot to go up? Don't know, right?
I don't know. I'm hoping he's getting a shot to go up. I believe it might be, but I don't speculate. Whatever. Let's just put it this way. Whatever the next step is, he's going to be prepared for.
Right.
I'm on his back. I call him at home. If he's late, I yell at him. If he comes in without the gi on, I yell at him. I yell at him more than anybody. He says, you let me know my father. I'll call him, be like, what are you doing? You better not be out, or you at a fucking bar. Like, I'm on these guys. I call them all day long.
Now we talk about the community.
Yeah.
How do you think that affects the young fighters and the veterans alike? Just your aspect of community and camaraderie and the team building.
It's easy to punch somebody in the face when you have turmoil in the gym. When you have turmoil in anything, it doesn't operate correctly. It just doesn't. You need a smooth line for it to go straight. Like, you can't have people jealous. You go to certain gyms and there's cliques. One guy groups here, one guy. Can't have that. You all got to root for each other. I say, you all better be at this fight. You all better, because you're all teammates. One makes it, we all make it. Well, that's it. And the more you spend time together, the more you guys love each other, the more you trust each other, the tighter and the better the gym's going to be. Listen, I come from a gym where these guys never veered off for anybody. Frank Yeager, Corey Anderson, like, look, the proof's in the pudding. Look, those guys stay with their – Frankie's in the Hall of Fame, one of the greatest fighters ever. Corey Anderson's in the top 2 light heavyweights in the world, and these guys stick with the same trainers, same group, that's it. All right, and they stay family, that's it, because they trust each other, that's it. And that's the formula I follow. Like, I've never veered away from a car. I have, in my career, I had plenty of gyms and other managers come to our gym. This is never going to be. No, I don't give a fuck if I lose every fight. I'm loyal to who gave me this opportunity, who got me here. That's it. This is my family. Like, I look up to Ricardo Almeida and fucking Renzo Gracie. Like, and Ricardo, like, forget it. He would think they were God to me. Like, that's how I look up to them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I can remember when the UFC first started. We were talking about Hoist Gracie and how small he was. What did he go? What did he weigh? About
185.
Oh, he was 185. But I saw there was no weight classes back then. Remember, when I saw him fighting that one guy from Alaska that was like 6'5", like 300 something pounds.
Chemo for everybody. Like,
and he would
didn't
just
matter.
he was like a human spider the way he wrap him up. He was
those
just
guys were
incredible.
athletes. It wasn't he fought some guys that shouldn't have been in there, but he fought some monsters too.
Yes, he did.
Fought some monsters too that were in there.
Are there any upcoming fights that you're really looking forward to?
Just waiting to hear what's up with these guys. We have Jerry Leshy and Jose Rodriguez, two of my other very, very top prospects that'll be fighting again in Cage Fury in Tampa. And they're two big, giant prospects also, along with Nick Galante, Eric Nolan, and Luke Fernandez. Like, I mean, to me, I have opportunity with those 5 guys to have a Cage Fury belt at 5 different weight classes.
Which is just incredible.
Which is incredible, yeah.
So that's a real testament to you and your ability to treat these kids not only as fighters, but you're their role model. Yeah. You're a mentor to them, and I think that's fantastic. It's been an honor to have you on here.
I appreciate
There's so many things that you preach that I preached for 15 years as a coach that I believe in. So it was great to see you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.